How you doing? My name is Ryan, and today I'm reviewing knockoff and off-brand LEGO minifigures based on Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, in the past few months, I've designed and printed my own custom figures from the movie, so I'm incredibly curious how these professional creations compare to mine. All of the minifigures from this video can be found at brickpanatoys.com and were made by two key companies in the off-brand LEGO market, that being XINH and Koruit. So we'll start off first with this batch from XINH, and our very first figure will be Deadpool himself. Almost every Deadpool figure I bought for this video has different configurations for the head. You can either use the scarred Ryan Reynolds face with the hood over top of it, or the Deadpool style face print on a usual LEGO head. And while the look of this hood is rather nice, I think the proportions are way off with those eyes being way too low. Moving on to the print on the body, I think the design is rather complicated, but overall pretty solid. I do think it errs a bit on the side of overcomplicated, but one of the big allures of these knockoff and custom figures are the fact they can be so detailed because they stray a bit from LEGO's usual design aesthetic. This figure has arm printing, leg printing, side leg printing, side torso printing. It has complete coverage. As for the face underneath the mask, I think the color is spot on to LEGO's usual head, but the mouth looks a little bit weird. It's kind of halfway between a smile and a smirk and just kind of looks off. But as is the case with most off-brand figures, the real selling point are the accessories. The dual molded, dual colored katanas and the golden guns look fantastic. Even though it is really odd to see a LEGO minifigure hold a gun that looks like an actual gun. The figure on the whole, I think, is a daring, if not a touch overly complicated attempt at an iconic character. But how about our next figure, Wolverine? The mask is kind of odd looking, it feels almost flattened and misshapen, but that could be more due to the face print underneath the mask looking really strange. And if you thought the Deadpool figure was overly complicated, the Wolverine torso just goes way too hard here. Not only is it an incredibly detailed rendering of the suit, but then you have all this damage mark and blood splatters on it. It's just a lot. It's almost like the designers of these figures approach them not as LEGO minifigures, but more so like action figures. One of the real curious additions here are Wolverine's claws, which are small plastic add-ons that fit in between the hand and the arms. Now, given the lower quality of plastic these knockoff figures usually have compared to LEGO, I was really nervous about adding these claws onto these hands because they could snap at any moment. And it makes sense why LEGO avoids having pieces between the hand and the arm for that exact reason. It's just not a stable connection. While you're definitely able to achieve more proportional claws here, I think they don't really work all that well. But how about a fan favorite character from Deadpool and Wolverine, Gambit? Now, I'm sure you'll notice this Gambit is missing his hand. And that's due to the fact that when I tried to put his hand into the arm, it snapped. Low quality plastic, plus having to assemble the figure outside of the bag, can lead to some real disasters. But outside that, this figure's design is really good. I just wish the jacket didn't cover up majority of it. The boot print is solid, the purple accents on the torso look great, the neck piece is really well defined, but this giant brown coat just covers most of it. I don't think these large plastic coat pieces really work because not only do they restrict movement of the arms, they make the figure look way too bulky. The hairpiece kind of reads more anime than Gambit, but the amount of contrast color-wise on the face print on the black head is rather admirable. Gambit here is one of the best cases for why LEGO's more minimalist design sometimes works best. But how about our next character, Elektra? I think the design on the torso and legs are fantastic, the arm printing is wonderful, the face does look a little bit off, and I don't like the fact that the eyebrows don't match the color of the hair. Compared to my version of Elektra, I think the XINH figure has the slight edge with the arm printing, but I prefer my face and hair choice. And seeing these two renditions side by side makes me wish LEGO made an actual Elektra figure. But there's another character I would love to see LEGO take a stab at, and that's X-23. The face looks phenomenal. I love the proportions of the glasses and the mouth, especially compared to my version where it was a little bit wonky. I will say though, the arm printing is a very strange choice, because off-brand figures very rarely do dual molding. They'll just print sleeves onto the arms, and here it looks a little bit off. And again, we also have the weird Wolverine claw add-ons, which I'm just not sure really work. But overall, as a figure, I definitely think this torso is better than my design, and the face is miles above what I made. Next up, how about another Wolverine, this time the Apocalypse look? The real star of this figure is the hairpiece. That is just a phenomenal custom design with sideburns that curve inwards, the weird part over the eyes, the giant pointy wings. This looks fantastic, and the overall figure design is rather simplistic compared to the other off-brands we've seen so far. There's only one part of this figure I'd really ding, and that's the arm printing. I just never like when off-brand designs add extra muscles to the arms and almost draw an outline of an arm shape on top of an arm piece. But overall, this Apocalypse Wolverine is pretty fantastic, and I'll be sure to save that hairpiece for a future custom. How about a character from the Deadpool Corp though, Cowboy Deadpool? Now this is different from Sheriff Deadpool, the Comic-Con figure, as this Cowboy Deadpool stays within the black and red color scheme, and this is another fantastic figure. I think the balance of design elements on the torso and legs really understand that less is more. The totality of the figure's design can be understood from one glance, and that's the key here. Yeah, I don't have really any complaints about that last figure. It's darn good. One more Deadpool left from this batch of XINH, and it's Deadpool 2099. And I think we ended off this batch with 3 solid figures in a row. The amount of detail on this design is rather subdued, but all the colors pop beautifully on this black torso. The face print has good proportions, the body print has good coloring and contrast, and these katanas in translucent red with a black handle are terrific looking. My only real complaint is that the silver on the boot print is a bit too flat compared to the rest of the figure. On the whole, that first batch of XINH figures were pretty solid, so how about another batch? Up first is the TVA Agent, and this is one of those figures where I really wish that these off-brand companies had the same quality plastics and printers as LEGO does, as the design here is pretty fantastic. The chest plate looks great, the pops of orange on the legs and arms look great, the face is phenomenal, the helmet is truly terrific. My only real complaint here design-wise is the amount of line work on the black sections of the armor do brighten it quite a bit. Compared to my figure, I tried to make the areas that were black only black to allow the silver gradient armor to pop. But this helmet piece and headpiece, I really wish I had access to that when I was making my custom. But certainly the quality of plastic and color contrast on this figure do hold it back a bit, even if the design is pretty terrific. One of the reasons I gravitated towards minifigs.me for my custom figure printing is because if you don't have enough color contrast when printing on black, the entire design can look washed out, faded, and very hard to read. And a similar issue unfortunately plagues our next figure, Blade. The entire center chest piece is almost unreadable unless the light hits it just right. And the line printing on the legs is really worn down and very hard to read in any lighting. And the same goes with the black printing on the face. Using silver as your outline color for the glasses I don't think worked, and it's one of the reasons why I put 2 giant shine marks on my custom Blade head to make the glasses that much more visible on the face. I definitely think my custom Blade figure turned out better than this one from XINH, but then again, I did spend only $1.50 on this figure. Next up, how about the final character from the Void Resistance team? It's Johnny Storm. And this XINH figure depicts him in his apocalyptic outfit, rather than my custom figure which used his entire hero outfit. And this torso design I think is rather nice. It kind of bumped up to the same problem I had in that the black accent lines and muscle lines are pretty hard to read when printed on dark blue. But the Fantastic Four logo on this XINH figure does look rather nice, if not a little bit small. Light printing I have no problems with. The face looks a little bit too serious for Johnny Storm. It's one of the reasons I picked the smirk face from Indiana Jones, as Johnny Storm is pretty sassy and foul-mouthed in Deadpool and Wolverine. In comparing the two, it kind of depends which Johnny Storm you prefer from the movie, apocalyptic Johnny Storm or hero outfit Johnny Storm. Either way, that character is dead. Now how about Cassandra Nova? I think these large plastic coat pieces hold these figures back, as you can't move the arms that much, but also the side of the torso has to serve 2 purposes, the side of the shirt underneath and the side of the jacket. Case in point, the right side of Cassandra Nova's torso is brown to match the jacket, whereas the left side is white to match the shirt underneath. I'm not sure if that's a print error or intentionally done by design, but it looks odd regardless. The shirt design underneath the jacket also has way too thick of black lines, and it makes it look kind of cartoony. Also, the skin color on the torso doesn't match the face, and the face print itself is kind of a weird expression. Thankfully, this character does come with an alternate head with a more generic stern expression, and that one looks a lot better if you ask me. Again, I just wish the designers added all the layering to the print work on the torso rather than add a jacket over top. It makes me think once again that these designers view these more as action figures than LEGO minifigures, or off-brand LEGO minifigures. But how about some more characters from the Deadpool core? How about Kid Deadpool? Again, we get a Deadpool head with a mask over top, and I think the mask does look a little bit better because of the size of the eyes. The torso and leg print I think is wonderful with this more child-friendly design, and the addition of the golden gun on the sides of the leg printing is a wonderful touch. Now, as is the case with a lot of knockoffs or off-brands, the figures themselves are usually pretty good, but the accessories are incredible. Kid Deadpool comes with 2 accessories, Headpool with a really nice face design, and Dogpool with one of the best print jobs I have ever seen on a molded piece before. The amount of coverage is terrific, the amount of detail is incredible, the tongue sticking out, the hair on the top. If this Dogpool was included in an actual LEGO set, it'd probably go on Bricklink for like 10 bucks. It's that good. And the fact that I bought Kidpool, Headpool, and Dogpool for around $2 really shows you the value potential for these off-brand figures. Sometimes you get way more than what you paid for, but we have one more figure left from XINH, and that's Lady Deadpool. The torso and leg design are rather simplistic, but pretty nice. The head looks a little bit strange proportion-wise with the eyes way too low, and the height of the hairpiece makes the space between the eyes and the hair really strange looking. The dual color katanas are a nice touch, as are the 2 Uzi pieces. It's very strange as a fan of LEGO, a company who often avoids realistic depiction of weapons as accessories, having a figure hold 2 Uzi guns. So yeah, okay Lady Deadpool figure if you replace the head, but once again we get another killer accessory in Baby Deadpool. This figure is rather cute with a minimalist but effective print on both the head and torso. They even gave him a pacifier. That's a great touch. While the figures from XINH fall into the usual pitfalls of custom and off-brand figures that bring print quality, plastic quality, and abundance of detail, I do think the design work itself is rather commendable, and I can say that having made my own versions of these figures, knowing what goes into cramming all that detail into a tiny torso. But of course, XINH is not the only company in the off-brand figure market. We also have Koruit. We'll start off with Deadpool himself, and while the design might be a little bit simpler from the other figures, the amount of stuff crammed onto this figure is rather overwhelming. I don't think this figure needed the belt piece as it hides the belt print underneath on the torso. And the mask piece, while it does look rather nice, I do think this figure has a pretty solid Deadpool face print. So again, not necessary. It's really a shame because if this figure had one more pass, it would have been really good. But how about our next figure, Wolverine? I'm honestly surprised this figure gets the proportions of the eyes and face rather well, even if there's no black printing on the back of the mask on the wings. The torso design is rather overwhelming, and that's before you add all the bullet holes and blood work. But this figure does one very unique thing that I was not expecting, and that's custom hand pieces. This Wolverine has claws built into its hand, and that's honestly a really cool idea. I don't think LEGO would ever go for it because it would be so fragile of a piece that it wouldn't be reliable to make millions of, but I love this idea. I think it looks terrific. I just wish the design of the torso on this Wolverine figure was a bit simpler to make the entire figure shine. Like, I wish I could just rip that costume off him. Shirtless Wolverine looks terrific. This is one of those few off-brand figures that absolutely nails the amount of detail that goes into a figure, and the color matching between the torso and the face is perfect. They gave this figure electricity running through him and hair on the torso. That's a great and hilarious touch, and honestly, if you replace the head and mask piece, you have a really great Wolverine figure on your hands. Just one more figure left from this batch of 4, and it's Kidpool. Another case where the design is rather effective, in that if you removed the amount of print on this figure, it'd probably pass for real. Look at that leg design. It's simple, but honestly rather effective. And while I don't think either the mask piece or the mask print look all that good, I think the added hood is a great touch, and the translucent green water gun is a fantastic choice. So far, the figures from Koruit have been pretty good, but we have one more bag left, and this one has a figure I've never seen before. Take a look at Colossus here. This is something I have to call a mega figure, as it's entirely proportional to a minifigure, just scaled up, and it is fantastic looking. It's almost as if because they were given a larger canvas, they decided to do less design work to make it feel more like an actual figure. And if you shrunk this down to figure size, it might actually pass for real. But as a massive oversized figure, I love this to the moon and back. And my head is spinning with all the possibilities with figures of this size, like maybe Eitri the dwarf from Infinity War, or a large Ant-Man figure. If Colossus is any indication of the quality you can expect from these mega figures, I'm very excited. But shifting gears, how about a character that wasn't in Deadpool and Wolverine, but I imagine a lot of people were expecting to show up? Magneto. This figure depicts the Magneto played by Ian McKellen from the early 2000s films, and the helmet piece is just terrific. The paint job, the molding, it's pretty perfect. I just wish the rest of the figure lived up to that helmet. The face print is kind of silly. The torso and leg design, while simplistic and matching LEGO's aesthetic, just kind of feels bland. But this plastic black cape really holds this figure back. With this cape piece on, you can barely move the arms because it's impossible to reach them. So yeah, the figure is literally top heavy with all the positive elements of the design at the very top. But how about a second Magneto figure, this time the Michael Fassbender version? And the face print here is even sillier than the one on the Ian McKellen, and the helmet is a lot less impressive if you ask me. The torso and leg design are your basic off-brand figures with a lot of line work on the torso that's barely visible, and the plastic cape just doesn't work. There's a really big reason why LEGO has only recently tried with rubber capes when they've been using cloth for all these years. It's just the best material to make capes out of. Moving on to our next figure, Wolverine, who did appear in the movie, but not this version, as this is his costume from the early X-Men movies with the black and gold. I think the design of the torso is almost there, but I wish Koruit removed some of the silver lines on the torso and legs to make the gold stand out a little bit more. The face design is strange. I get what they're going for here with the brown and black beard, but it looks rather off proportionally. The hair is a terrific adaptation of that Wolverine's hair, where it's barely Wolverine, but just evocative enough to say, no, this is Wolverine. But those two tiny peaks just don't do it for me, especially after we've been blessed with so many incredible Wolverine figures with accurate hair. The claws on the hands do look rather nice, and if I ever revisit making a new custom Wolverine figure, I'll be sure to use those hand pieces. Now, we have another Wolverine figure that didn't appear in the movie. This one looks like it's from X-Men 97. And this costume is terrific looking. The amount of line work looks great, the color contrast looks nice, the face print is pretty cool looking. But if I'm being honest, comparing this one to the CMF Wolverine, LEGO has this one hands down. The only real benefit of the knockoff version is the claws on the hands. Okay, back to the characters that did appear in the movie, we have another Lady Deadpool. And this one kinda confuses me. While the torso and leg print looks nice, the face print is incredibly strange with this black eye patch of a Deadpool mask on a woman's head. The alternate face might be trying to resemble Taylor Swift back when she was rumored to play Lady Deadpool, but the character never actually takes off her mask, and the hairpiece that comes with this figure is entirely inaccurate to what appears in the film. I do like this half-masked Deadpool hat, but overall, a very confusing rendition of Lady Deadpool. Maybe they made this figure before the film came out and they were kind of just predicting what would happen. Either way, strange choices were made here. Now, we have two more figures left, Deadpool and Wolverine, and up next is Deadpool. This figure might have the best torso design of all of the off-brand Deadpool figures, as the color contrast and line work is impeccable. The leg print also looks fantastic, but I feel like the mask piece holds this one down. The eyes are a bit too big, and I don't like the silver outline around the black elements. You put the plastic hood piece on, and again, it looks more like an action figure than a minifigure. I do, however, love this custom katana holder in the back. Looks really slick. And even though this torso is missing some of the gold accents found in the film costume, the design here is really impressive and shows quite a deft hand by the artist. One more figure left, and of course, it's Wolverine. And again, this is one of the best and cleanest designs of a Wolverine figure of this entire bunch. It is way better than the one that I made, so I'm entirely considering replacing the parts of my custom Wolverine figure with this one. But there is one step I have to do first, and that's remove all of the accessories. The shoulder pads I think are overbearing and look too silly. The wrist gauntlets I think make the arms look way too bulky. But thankfully, I do get to add the clawed hand pieces to my custom figure, which is nice because if you add a real LEGO head and helmet to this figure, it's a really perfect Wolverine. Once again, with these off-brand figures, each brand has their strength. I think Koruit has the better design of the characters and the better print quality, whereas XINH has the way better accessories. Honestly, I think that's where all their money goes. Dogpool himself is worth way more than $1. That's for sure. But I would love to know what was your favorite off-brand or knockoff figure in the comment section down below. And as always, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.